From the News Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us on Morning Line. I'm Aundrea Cline-Thomas, filling in for Nick Barris. You know, fans continue to mourn the loss of comedian and actor Robin Williams. As you all have heard by now, he was found dead on Monday after committing suicide. And Rob Williams has been very open that he has been struggling with depression and addiction and alcoholism over the years. We may never know what some of the darkness that he faced, but it's just sad that someone who brought so much joy to all of us was really struggling personally. So that's what we're talking about today, is about depression and suicide prevention. We want to talk about, you know, what some of the signs are, but how you can also get help. We're joined today by Dr. Seth Banks. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, you're from TriStar Summit Medical Center. Just tell us a little bit about your practice.
My name's Seth Banks. I'm an internal medicine physician with Summit Medical Associates in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. So doing primary care and taking care of adults with various medical needs.
Yeah, so tell us about, you know, somebody might think that you need to be mopey and just not want to open the shades, but you know, in Robin Williams's case, it's been reported that he worked all the time. He was highly functional, and this comes as, you know, a shock to so many people.
Absolutely. It's very important to make a distinction between depression and just the general, you know, sadness or blues. I mean, obviously we all experience some sadness in our lives. You know, sadness, disappointment are part of the human existence. But when it becomes persistent, when it affects you in ways other than mental, physical ways, you know, you're having difficulty getting out of bed in the morning, having less joy in the things that you do normally, things that are normally fun, increased or decreased appetite, you know, changes in sleep patterns. All of these things are physical signs of depression, and they're certainly important. And over a prolonged period of time, I mean, obviously, you know, if we experience a loss, if we lose a loved one or a job or having financial difficulties, certainly, you know, it's normal to be sad for a while, but when it persists for weeks, months, you know, then that's a time to start being more concerned.
You know, what do people call it? I know we've talked about sadness, but kind of what ways do people misdiagnose themselves?
Sure, absolutely. There are plenty of different words for it. You know, we said sadness, the blues, just, oh, I'm down in the dumps, or, you know, I'm just kind of feeling out of it. I'm not feeling quite right. You know, those kind of things that I think we all experience on, you know, short-term or temporary basis at times. We all kind of go through it, but when it persists, then, you know, it's something to be a little more concerned about.
How common is depression? Depression
is very common, and I think it's something we've kind of underdiagnosed in the past. We're taught, I use men as an example, but it happens to women too. We're kind of taught not to wear our emotions on our sleeves, to put our best face forward when we go out in public and, you know, conquer the world, and hide those feelings behind, you know, the mask that we wear every day. So I think it's been underdiagnosed, to be honest with you, and it's just something that if you're continuing to have problems with it, you need to talk to your physician.
Yeah, and the big thing too is that there's no shame involved, that you're not alone, that so many people are facing this.
Absolutely.
And we want people to kind of get in on our conversation. We're going to continue talking, but I do want to give you the phone number. It's 615-737-7587. Again, 737-7587. We want to hear kind of your experiences with this while we continue to talk to the doctor. And so we talked a little bit about it, but let's talk a little bit more. What does it look like? Because it's not just, you know, people, even if they're not experiencing it themselves, they really need to see what the signs are to notice it in others.
Right, absolutely. Looking at another person, once again, a major change in mood. I mean, obviously, we all know people who are sad, but when the sadness is accompanied by this generalized fatigue, this feeling of not wanting to get out of bed in the morning, this accompanied with prolonged feelings of guilt, with like I said, sleep disturbance, and it can be somebody who just wants to sleep all the time, or conversely, I can't sleep, I'm so upset, I'm so worried that I can't sleep. Changes in appetite. People with depression, for lack of a better word, kind of either try to self-medicate with food, or they try to, they basically lose their appetite and kind of go into a starvation mode. These are some physical signs that you can look for.
What are the cultural factors?
I think there are a lot of different cultural factors. Certainly in, as I alluded to before, in men, we're especially taught not to wear our emotions on our sleeves. We don't talk about our feelings. We don't openly put that out there for people. If things are going bad, we just kind of have to suck it up and go on. And I think that's one major cultural factor. Certainly there are religious factors, not to delve too much into that, but there's certainly a religious component to putting on your best face and going out in public and showing the world your best your best presentation of yourself, when that may or may not be the case.
It's not just a feeling, from what I understand, it's chemical.
Right, exactly, and that's something that I definitely wanted to touch on, is that depression is a very complex clinical entity, because it's an interplay between the emotions, the feelings, the general daily interactions that we have, also with neurochemical brain stimulation. There are specific chemicals in the brain which, when depleted, can lead to depression. And sometimes there's a chicken or egg argument, is it because of this physical stress that these chemicals become depleted, or this mental stress that these chemicals become depleted, or is it the chemicals become depleted and then we become stressed? But the long and the short of it is, there are certainly biological factors involved. It's not just in your mind. It's not, this isn't a character flaw. One of the analogies I like to make with people is, for someone who's, say, a type 1 diabetic whose body has stopped producing insulin, you wouldn't tell them to stop taking insulin and just get over it. And it's the same with clinical depression. If their body isn't producing enough serotonin or norepinephrine, a couple of the brain transmitters that are responsible for depression, you wouldn't tell them not to go to their doctor, not to take medication, and just get over it. It's very similar in that regard.
All right, fantastic. We've got a lot more to talk about. We're going to go to our first break, but we encourage you to go ahead and give us a call. Again, there is no shame in this. Get your questions answered. Find out the signs that you need to look for in yourself, or how to help somebody else. That number, 615-737-7587. We'll be right back.